So the Giannis trade is finally here. The Miami Heat have now traded for Giannis Antetokounmpo. This is breaking news in the NBA, shaking up the pretty boring offseason so far, even though we're only a few days in. NBA fans are so needy, man. The NBA finals just concluded and people are like, where are the trades? That's just how we're wired. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into this Miami Heat trade. My name is Coach Muhammad here on Hoop Symmetry. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all of that good stuff. But anyway, the Miami Heat have now received Giannis Antetokounmpo and Bobby Portis in exchange for the Milwaukee Bucks, getting back Tyler Hero, Khalil Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jakic, the number 13th overall pick in this draft, which a lot of people are excited about. Unprotected first-round picks in both 2031 and 2033, a pick swap in 2030, and a second-round pick in 2033. So quite a haul. And without further ado, I'm going to start off by saying this is one of the rare trade occasions where I give both teams an A grade. I mean, if you're Miami Heat, you got the best player in the trade. So a lot of people hold that philosophy. You get the best player, you got the better end of the trade. Max Kellerman used to say that a bunch. The guest on the Jalen Rose podcast. Many people hold that philosophy. So if you're looking at it from that lens, you're getting a two-time MVP, defensive player of the year, a guy that's at 7 feet, can compete with guys like Wemby at this hybrid perfect modern four on both ends, can be a playmaking power four on both ends while guarding everyone on the court. So Giannis still very much one of the top 3-ish best players in the NBA, depending on who you ask. So that's always an amazing get. And you're still in the Eastern Conference, so you still have a chance to compete. And you get back Bobby Portis, a guy who can help you off of your bench, a guy who's been in those big moments before. So that's another good thing. And if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, a team who had traded away all of their first-round picks to get Damian Lillard a few years back, you now get Tyler Hero, a hometown kid, a guy who is a reliable 20-point-per-game scorer, you know, besides the injury concerns. When I use the term reliable, I'm talking about his skill set. And Miami Heat's been trying to trade him for a while, but to me, it's been hard to find a perfect situation for him. This, to me, seems like the perfect situation. A lot of times I feel like people are overlooking the fact that basketball is a business and you want a guy who can sell tickets, especially if you're not trying to tank. There have been also updates in the tanking rules, which decentivize it as much. And for Milwaukee, you already didn't have your first round picks anyway. So keeping the business afloat is still a good thing. I think a lot of people should understand that. And if you have, and the way you do that is giving your fans something to root for. And if you give your fans a hometown kid who has proven in the NBA he can reliably put the ball in the goal, that is also one really good thing to do. And because he has ties to the area, he may be someone who also wants to stick around for a while, can also be into your veteran leadership. And now we're seeing rebuilds come into fruition a little bit quicker than years past. So Tyler Hero, how old is he? The fact that Tyler Hero is only 26 years old. This is not a guy who can't go with you into this next light. And because of his game playing off the ball so much, to shoot the ball, you also don't need him to be the featured player all the time. He's also a 2-guard. He can play next to a guy like Ryan Rollins, who's their young guy that they want to build around. He can go into 2 different contracts. Like I said, if he plays out a 3-4 year extension, which he's looking for, later he may be on a value deal for Milwaukee if you want him to, depending on how he plays, because he's from the area. This is a guy who last year averaged 20 points per game on 56% effective field goal percentage. He was 48% from the field and 38% from 3. So he's a guy who's 38% from 3 for his career. That's always going to help. You can never have him much shooting. And the types of shots that he's used to shooting is also, again, very tough shots off the dribble, off the move. They also got Khalil Ware. This is a guy who's very underrated. He's kind of in that Jonathan Kuminga situation because he got in the doghouse with his coach, but I don't really factor that into him being a bad player, anything about that. If you watch the way he played on the court, he's the perfect modern 5. He's one of the only guys I've seen give Wemby fits on both ends of the court. He's a guy who can move around at 7'1" with a long wingspan, can knock down threes fairly reliably. He's an amazing shot blocker with fantastic timing. This is a guy I really, really like. So if you're centering this around Tyler Hero, who's a guy who can keep the business afloat and go into the next phase with you, a hometown kid, Khalil Ware, who I think is amazing, perfect modern 5. You have your point guard in Ryan Rollins, who you're interested in right now, see what he can do. But you didn't just stop there. You also got Kasparas Jakic, a guy that a lot of people were excited about, coming out of the draft last year. Didn't really get too much run with the Miami Heat, but showed some flashes. That's another big playmaking guard who may pop for you. He's going to have more minutes now because you're getting rid of Giannis and open up some opportunities, which is also addition by subtraction in that way. Jaime Jaquez, a guy who still has some room to grow with his jump shot especially, but a guy who's always in sixth man of the year, talks, gets down into the paint, always a very amazing paint finisher. Again, a big playmaking guard forward. And you didn't just stop there. You also got fairly decent draft compensation. A lottery pick this year in a draft that a lot of people are calling a historic NBA draft is an amazing haul. You also got 2 other first round picks. You know, when it gets down to 2033 and 2031, who knows what the Miami Heat will look like then. And then you also got a second round pick in 2033 as well. And we've seen from the Miami Heat track record that they can even turn that into a valuable player. Sometimes the pick itself just numerically holds one value, but in someone else's hands, it's just a little bit more valuable. And so I think on both teams, they did a pretty good job here. And it's interesting because usually with these type of superstars demanding trades, someone usually gets the short end of the stick, in my opinion. Either the team holds on to the superstar way too long, which I thought was kind of happening with Giannis, so his value drops drastically, which may have happened. You know, who's to say what the trade would have looked like a couple of years ago? Probably an even better haul. But this is not a haul that you can complain about, in my opinion. Like, you kind of, you know, took Giannis. If we're going to look at Giannis as an asset, if I'm going to use dehumanizing language to just call Giannis an asset, from Milwaukee Bucks standpoint, you did amazing. Giannis is in his early 30s. You basically drafted a guy, developed him, and he became a superstar, brought your team relevancy for a while, brought you Defensive Player of the Year, MVPs, a championship to the city. You explored running it back, brought him in some new help with Damian Lillard, kept trying to mend the relationship, didn't work, ended up not working. And you still were able, after all of that, right when the value was starting to go down, to sell really high. So if I'm just looking at Giannis as an asset, I mean, I think the Milwaukee Bucks did amazing in that asset management, so to speak. And so, yeah, man, I really don't see how any team could truly complain here. Of course, you can always nitpick on getting maybe a little bit more here, maybe a little bit more there, the draft compensation piece of it. But I mean, to me, if you're getting around a good young player who can play right now, who's 20 point per game scorer, who can do that pretty efficiently and has done that at 26 years old, who's also from the area, another young star who I really like is like the perfect modern five who you're looking for. Jaime Jaquez, a proven nice young player. As far as Yakichones, another first round pick from a couple of years back. Yeah, I mean, I don't see how you can really complain too much about this trade. So this was amazing. I want to see what they do. Milwaukee has some interesting options right there at number 10 and 13 now, where they'll be picking to also help their team with 2 lottery picks in this draft. They can go ahead and get guys like Nate Ament. A lot of people have been speculating that he may want to go to Milwaukee because he's a little bit more of a project, and they've kind of done this with like a Giannis. Not saying that he's Giannis, but they're saying the proof of that concept is there. And they have the time now for it. And they even have more people they can get later in the draft. Jaxel Lindenberg, Braden Berries, Ibuka Okore, Kareem Lopez. This is a deep draft, so there's going to be options for them to also help bolster their rebuild, you know, whatever position that they want to kind of help bolster around. So I think Milwaukee did an amazing job. I think the Miami Heat did an amazing job in terms of just, hey, get the guy. We know we're not going to compete right now. What we have, even though all of these assets are good, we're not in the position right now to use them, so let's just get our guy. So anyway, that's the video. I'm going to go ahead and also try to make sure I drop my mock draft for today, which is the post-Giannis trade mock draft. So make sure you're on the lookout for that. I'll try to make sure I release that before the NBA draft, which is coming up later today, so you guys can see my latest predictions given this new news. And anyway, this is Coach Muhammad, and I am out.